All right, so you're a buyer and you're looking to enter the Ocean City market. Well, I'm gonna talk about the #1 mistake that I see buyers making when it comes to purchasing properties here in Ocean City, New Jersey. My name's Jim Murray. I own sellingocnj.com. I'm also a full-time agent here with Keller Williams Jersey Shore, and I specialize in helping people sell or buy here in the Ocean City market or one of the surrounding markets. So please, if you have any questions or you want to get an idea of what your property may be worth, or maybe there's something you want to see in person, reach out because I'd love to help you out. So jumping right into it. We are in a very, very competitive market, all right? There's limited inventory and really good properties have a tendency to go very quickly in our market. Even in the off season, things that are very desirable have been moving quickly still. So with that being said, you're an active buyer and you're watching properties hit. Maybe you've been looking for a month or 3 months or 6 months or a year, who knows? And finally this property hits that really is attractive to you. Well, there's a couple steps here that we want to talk about. #1, affordability. We want to determine that you can afford the property before we waste time setting up an appointment to see it in person. So some information that we would want is we would probably want to know if we're and this is if we're at the upper end of our budget. If price isn't a factor, then I would actually recommend skipping this step. But saying that we're at the upper end of our budget, or we really need to determine all of these extra costs affiliated with home ownership, then before we waste time looking at the property, once again, what we want to do is we want to get, well, what are the taxes? How much is the insurance going to be? And if it's a property that you're looking to rent out, let's get any type of rental history on the property so that we can factor that all in and determine out of the gate, and hopefully very quickly. We don't want to spend a lot of time doing this, but we can take an hour to get some of this information together and make sure that this property is going to fit in our financial wheelhouse. Okay, so once we determine that this property is affordable, the next thing that we want to do is we want to get through the property. All right? Let's set up an appointment. Let's take our time. Let's walk through the property. Once we determine that we like the space in person, from there, a lot of people have a knee-jerk reaction, and this is a huge mistake. They have a knee-jerk reaction of trying to get all of the information about the property before they put an offer in. And why I think that this is a huge mistake is because, especially in the Ocean City market, this will cost you valuable time. So, and hear me out, because most buyers are going to say, well, hold on, isn't it important for me to know how old the roof is or whatever it might be? You're going to have that opportunity to determine that you're comfortable with the property and the nuts and bolts of the property, the details of the property. So going back, all right, we've determined that we can afford the property, we've walked through and we like the space. The next thing that we want to do is we want to put an offer together with terms that we're happy with at a price that we're happy with and see if we can get a meeting of the minds. In my opinion, it makes no sense to dig any further into a property before that we can determine that we can secure the property with terms and price that fit our goals. So the next step would be jumping in and trying to get our offer approved. From there, if we're in Ocean City and using a standard Board of Realtors contract, we have a built-in 15-day home inspection period. Now, obviously, if you waive this to be competitive, that changes this scenario. But standard contract has a 15-day home inspection period. This will give you time to get your professionals through the door. They can check the roof, get the age of the mechanicals, have an opportunity to review the seller disclosure statement, anything that you have a concern with, checking for an oil tank, seeing if there's any termites. We have 2 weeks to get all of those answers. We do not need that information before we even see if we can get a meeting of the minds. It's a waste of time, and it's going to cost you valuable time that could add another buyer into the equation. So once we secure the deal, we then get to enjoy our basic 2-week home inspection period to get all the other answers that we need. Now, In Ocean City, you might be buying a condo. Well, you can have peace of mind of knowing that it is standard. Even if you eliminate the home inspection clause, you get 10 days to review the condo docs and the bylaws. You have 10 days to review that information and make sure that you're comfortable with it. And that clock doesn't start until the seller delivers that information to you. So once you get that information in your email, that's when that clock would start. And now you have 10 days if you want to ask an attorney, maybe a question about the condo docs to make sure that they're conducive to what your goals are with the property, or it's not going to limit your ability to use the property. You would have built-in time to check that. Once again, we don't need to analyze all that information before we know we have a deal. It doesn't make sense. Another example would be if the property is being sold fully furnished and you have a concern of what's going to be included in that or not. Well, why would we waste our time determining what furniture is included in a property before we know that we even have the property secured? And the bottom line is, if you're buying a property that's fully furnished, you're going to typically include a furniture addendum. That addendum is going to give you 10 days to approve or disapprove of the inventory once you receive it from the seller. So my advice would be this: don't make the mistake, the biggest mistake, of costing yourself valuable time, all right? Number one, determine affordability. Number two, determine that you like the space in person. Number three, confirm that you have a deal with the right price and the right terms conducive to your goals. And then from there, utilize the contract, utilize the different contingencies in the contract that will buy you the time on your terms to determine if the property fits all of your criteria and checks every single box.